Right. We're going to do something special this time. I'm going to do a quick video of my collection, some highlights from the collection. In particular, this time we're going to go with Cabaret Voltaire. So, somewhere in here in the C's, after Crass, we got a little chunk of Cab Voltaire records to go through here. Alright, let's just get these down here to show you guys what we're looking at. Alright, so first up, I'm going to go with the debut. Managed to locate a copy of this in recent years in Toronto, I think at Rotate This, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, never had it. Do have a copy of it on CD as well somewhere. The mix-up is their debut studio album. There's maybe some live recordings and stuff before, because as we said, they formed in 73. This came out in 79. It's a pretty solid record. A little bit samey, repetitive, maybe at times, but overall pretty cool debut. A lot of experimentation. I would kind of put Cabaret Voltaire into 2 or 3 different phases, really. And this early phase is very experimental. A lot of tape loops, dubs, overdubs, just noisy elements, distorted vocals. Kind of post-punk meets industrial. They are absolutely pioneers of industrial music out of the Sheffield scene, along with Throbbing Gristle and others. So yeah, pretty solid, pretty essential record. Not their best album by any means, but very much an interesting one to pick up in the collection. It does include one live track on here by called Isla Sight, and I believe the track No Escape is also a cover of a Seeds song from the 60s. Now, this originally came out on Rough Trade, but I have an OG nonetheless, an Italian pressing on Bass Records for the mix-up by Cab Voltaire. Next up, 1980, we have the album EP. I mean, it's only a couple of tracks. It's called Three Mantras, but only 2 tracks. 2 mantras I can count on this one, the Eastern Mantra and the Western Mantra. This is on Rough Trade again, kind of almost like handwriting on the back. And here you get some proper Rough Trade kind of labels, record labels. There you go. Interesting, kind of carries on from the previous mix-up. These are kind of long versions too, one track per side. Not something I grab too often. I do pick this out a lot of times. This is Red Mecca. Very cool one by the Cabs from 1981. And again on Rough Trade. These early Rough Trade years are essential pretty much for Cab Voltaire. Still a lot of dub kind of influence to it. Some bass heavy stuff. Also starting to sample their US televangelists as well. It's kind of a series that they got going with 2 or 3 albums, this one and the next one. For sure, they were sort of influenced as they were traveling down the States by listening to these kind of like online or on the radio, on the TV, puritanical kind of preachers and evangelists. That also shows up on the next one, Voice of America. This one is one of my faves, probably my top 3 records by them. The next record I'm actually missing, the Crackdown, but this one, very solid. Voice of America, again, a lot of cool samples and like tape loops and such. Came out in 81. I've got the Rough Trade America version on this one. So, don't know if the labels look a little different maybe in the UK or not, but this is Rough Trade number 9. I have this weird feeling that Rough Trade 1 is like the Smiths or something for some reason, but definitely would have been an early release by Rough Trade Records. So yeah, Cab Voltaire, 1981. What else have I got? Well, 1982, I have the Tokyo concert. Hi. And pretty cool record. I have a couple copies, I think, of this record. This is again on Rough Trade. Now they're just down to a duo at this point with just Richard H. Kirk and Mallinder. Mallinder do vocals, also some bass work. Kirk doing some guitar work as well on this thing. It's post-punk, meets industrial, meets experimental. And yeah, 6 tracks in total. Very cool. Includes taxi music, which I think is a track on another record that I have by them, and one that Berkshire Mike showed, the soundtrack to Johnny Yes Now. Yeah, taxi music is also on this one too. So, never actually seen this film. I really need to get around to checking it out. I don't know if it's like a film noir or like a future thing, but definitely cool. They got Cabaret Voltaire to do the whole score and the soundtrack. So yeah, Johnny Yes No, another like 1981, 82 release. And the record that I'm missing to show you guys right now in my collection is the Crackdown, which I think I actually have 2 copies of. But can't show you guys that one. But I can show you one of my all-time favorite records. Probably my number one overall. The record that got me into Cab Voltaire, the first one for me, Microphonies. I remember getting this as a kid on cassette. And yeah, it's just absolutely solid. Kind of moving into their second phase now, I would say, in terms of sound, a more accessible sound, more synth heavy. They've also signed up to Virgin, so they're kind of getting a little bit of major label attention here. A little bit bigger budget maybe, and some other songwriting going on. But yeah, Sensoria was the video, which is actually filmed by the guy who did this movie. Excellent video, always on constant replay on Much Music in Canada, hence why I got so hooked. Between that and like the early Ministry videos and Skinny Puppy, that was pretty much my gateway into a lot of industrial dance music. So yeah, love this track, love this album, and the tracks Do Right and Sensoria are the total standouts. But Spies in the Wires, also really cool. Digital Rasta, James Brown was of course kind of a fun little single off this one as well. Got a couple copies of this thing too. And next up in my Cab Voltaire collection, like I said, not by no means a comprehensive collection, but a few records over the years. I got a copy of this as well, Drinking Gasoline. Got this copy like way back, I think back in the 90s when I was still in Moncton. So yeah, it's an old classic. Definitely getting into an EBM industrial kind of sound here, kind of like Wax Trax-esque a bit. Still on Virgin on this one? Yeah, this is still a Virgin release. 4 tracks, Big Funk, Sleepwalking, Kino, and Ghost Talk are on this one. Pretty good EP. And that, of course, followed up by their EMI. Are they on EMI at this time? No, still Virgin. Another Virgin release that's definitely getting them closer into a third wave of sound where they really kind of jump into some house and techno. This is still kind of in the industrial dance, EBM, Wax Trax, if you will, sound. I think this one's produced by Adrian Sherwood at this point, or is it still like Flood? Either way, excellent production on this thing. Just kind of a boring Virgin record labels, but yeah. This one's a promo stamp copy and picked up for $2.99, so not too bad. Canadian press. It's a good album. No track like completely stands out to me, but I do give it a spin once in a while. I need to give it more spins, I think, that one. I really do prefer sort of early 80s, early to mid 80s Cab Voltaire. But that being said, we're going to move into mid to late 80s now. And the Here to Go single, got this on vinyl. This is on Parlophone, EMI. This is when they make the big jump to EMI. I think Virgin wanted to keep them on board, but EMI offered more cash and some expansion of their production sound. And yeah, the result of this record, Code, which is excellent. This is the Adrian Sherwood production. Some of it sounds a little bit dated nowadays. Some of his productions, even from those days, can sound a bit dated. But man, at the time, he was doing 9 Inch Nails, of course, the Tackhead Project, which I love, and early Ministry stuff. This is another record to fit into the Adrian Sherwood tome of amazing productions. So yeah, dub influence, but also a lot of samples and beats. Very cool record. This one has, yeah, Don't Argue was the single, and the Here to Go is another single on this one as well. So a few singles on this thing. White Car is kind of fun as well. But nevertheless, I think not long after this, they were dropped by EMI. Didn't make back enough money. I think they were going into debt from some of the production costs, and they went back to some more indie releases. Now that is kind of the end of my official Cab Voltaire record collection at that point in '87, but I do have some solo stuff that they put out after that, including this one from 1990. So at this point, the band kind of starts splitting up. I think Mallinder moves to Australia. Watson had already left after like 3 albums or so. He's kind of doing production work now at BBC, or at the time was. He's now rejoined for the upcoming tour. But Richard H. Kirk continues on with this really cool side project called Sweet Exorcist CCEP. This came out on Warp Records. This is one of my fave techno records of all time. A really minimalist record. Actually call it bleep music. Just really kind of minimal synth work and sort of funky techno, if you will. But like I said, there's minimal grooves to it. Stripped back, stripped down. A little bit of robotic vocal here and there. Then I've also got another Richard H. Kirk project. This is just solo stuff here, 4 tracks. This came out on Minimal Wave in 2014. A gray vinyl, which I'm not a huge fan of colored vinyl. And I'm even less of a fan of the color of this vinyl because it's actually clear vinyl. But this is Not to Be Outdone, Stephen Mallinder's solo work as well. So I don't know how that's sticking to it. Yeah, Steve Mallinder. This album, Data. It's actually pretty good. Interesting techno, experimental techno kind of stuff on Dace label. This I think came out in like 2019. Yeah, 2019 for this one. And like I said, kind of a see-through clear vinyl. Bit of a pain to see the different tracks. And that's it. That's all the Cab Voltaire, pretty much all the Cab Voltaire I have on vinyl. Of course, missing my copy of Crackdown, which I think I have 2 copies of that thing somewhere. I think it's over at my studio. But yeah, huge fan since early days. And I did have like their more recent album for a little while too, the one that came out a few years back. They apparently have announced that they're going to have a new live album as part of this tour, so I'll be on the lookout for that. And that is it for now.